So Peru won an event that we actually put on called King of the Hill. The way it works is you run a 3.2 kilometer loop, which situates over a giant hill. You get about 266 meters of vert for every lap that you do. So the race actually went on for 75 hours. I think he won on lap 676. He was a joint winner with another athlete called Pyry. So they decided to split the cash. It was absolutely crazy. And I think the craziest thing about this story is that Peru only really started getting into running a couple of years ago. So fast forward a couple of years, he's winning a last one standing event. So it's absolutely nuts. Enjoy it. Hopefully you grab some cool insights from him. You started running, what, 3 years ago now? Is that right?
That's right. So what happened was that August 2022, just listened to David Goggins' second book, fired up as hell. I'm in Finland enjoying my holiday. And when you're at this beautiful cabin, you like rest, that you're well fed, you start getting these ideas. You're like, okay, how can I challenge myself a little bit? Of course, because of listening to Goggins' book, I'm like, I might have to give this distance running thing a shot. But I haven't been doing any kind of running at all. And lo and behold, Melbourne Marathon is in 6 weeks' time. So I'm thinking to myself, could I do the Melbourne Marathon? Like, that would be pretty interesting to go to that from zero running. So then me and Teresa were at this cabin, and I tell her, like, you know what? I'm gonna go for a 10K run tomorrow. And if it goes well, if like nothing crazy happens, I'm gonna do the Melbourne Marathon. So next day, I don't even own running shoes. I've only got Vivo Barefoot, like these minimalist shoes. And I just like take off in them, and I go and do the 10K run, and didn't feel great, to be honest with you, but nothing broke. So we got through that. And now I'm just like, okay, oh fuck, now I'm really thinking about this. Should I do this Melbourne Marathon? Who's someone who can like validate me here? And I'm like, Ethan. So I text you and like, hey bro, what's the shortest amount of time that you've ever had to prepare for a marathon? You're like, a week. Just bring some salt tabs and you'll be fine. I'm like, sweet, God. Lock it in, let's go. And that's where it all started. That was 4 hours 33 for that first marathon. It was a very, very painful experience, but yeah, we didn't stop there, and we've just been on this trajectory from there onwards.
Jeez, I almost regret giving that advice though. Hey, like now in hindsight, when I look back, I would never tell anyone to just go do a marathon off a week. Like it's such a fast way to ruin the next 12 months.
Yeah, absolutely. But man, I'm glad that you you validated me, and I've been in this journey, because it's obviously like given me a bit of a new direction from also like professional standpoint, but then also just like so much fulfillment, and really good things.
Did you go from when you did the first the first marathon, Melbourne Marathon?
Yeah.
Did you feel like straight after that you wanted to commit to running full time, or like how did that evolve for you?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Literally, like for the first 2 years, actually all the way until King of the Hill last year, it was for me. I even used this hashtag in all my posts in the beginning: run like a runner without looking like a runner. So that was like my thing. I'm like, okay, how can I be the guy who is at the start line and people are like, dude, like, did you just, like, did your GPS break or something? Like, did you just roll up to the completely wrong place? And then at the finish line too, like, hey, that guy's, it's him again. How did he get here so early? That was kind of my thought process. Like that, running was always like this little bit of a kind of a side hustle almost. And then gradually, it started becoming like more and more important. And it was only at King of the Hill 2024 when I somehow was able to like hang out with these really, really good runners for multiple days. And I started thinking to myself, like, man, like me and Ross, for example, like Ross McPhee, like multiple down under finisher, second place, like really, really good runner. He weighed 59 kilograms at King of the Hill, and I was rocking around like 89 kilograms. Like there's 30 kilo difference in our body weight. Like grab a 30 kilos and go climb a couple hills or go for a go for a run. So that got me thinking, like, man, like I actually did pretty well compared to that kind of handicap. So what could happen if I kind of went all in? And
Yeah.
yeah, that's where it started from. We're not getting any younger, and that's kind of my mentality is always like I want to just do the best I possibly can. And yeah, right now we're doing the best we possibly can when it comes to running.
Man, I actually remember when you won King of the Hill, which I'm sure we'll get into, but I feel like I had that realization as well. You and I like had that conversation. I don't know if you remember because you're probably pretty tired, but we were like, bro, imagine what you could do if you didn't do as much strength training. Like if you just decided to go all in, drop the weight, like what could that look like? Like it was a huge realization for myself and I think obviously yourself too.
Absolutely. And yeah, King of the Hill 24, like with that 3.2 kilometer loop, like it just suited me so well because, you know, I've got that solid appetite that like a lot of runners don't have. Now that I've started coaching more runners, I've realized like a lot of runners really just yeah, I don't know what's up.
They can't
What's
eat,
up
can
with
they?
these guys?
Yeah, they just like, I mean, Dave Gatt, I had him on here like 2 episodes ago or 3 episodes ago, and
Yeah.
he was saying that he just can't get down food. I don't know if it's a strength training thing, but I mean, you're saying that you can eat. I feel like anytime I've done endurance, I can smack like thousands of calories with no
Yeah.
issues.
Absolutely. I honestly, I don't know what is it about. Maybe it's just that you've gone through a period in your life where your sole purpose, like the main thing in your mind has been like, I want to get as jacked as possible. And just going through that was like a really long journey. Especially like if you do want to put on any considerable amount of size, requires you to get really good at eating.
Mm.
So I think that's a huge advantage when it comes to like these last man standing type events like King of the Hill. And then the other thing why it suited really well is just the strength training component. You know, when you climbing, like the more climbing is involved, the more important strength, just pure strength becomes. Like how big proportion is your body weight compared to your maximum? That's
Mm.
literally what it comes down to. And the stronger you are, the easier it is for you to haul up your ass 266 meters again and again and again.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, like when we were watching you do King of the Hill, to be honest, you were kind of like this black sheep because there was obviously we had heaps of runners there. There was definitely a few strength training guys who looked like they got their GPS wrong, but there was when it got down to top 10 and we're like, oh yeah, Peru's still in it. And we probably backed you for top 10 still. Like, you know, you regardless of being a bigger dude, less running time, we knew you had the grit, we knew you had the strength base. Like we backed you for top 10. But to be honest, I didn't back you for top 3. I didn't back you for first place at all until, you know, obviously when you start to see it evolve in front of you, you start to change your opinion on it naturally because the evidence is there. But yeah, it is a testament though to one, your resilience. But if we just put that aside for a second, it is a testament to how important a strength base is in running though. And people don't factor that into like, as you were very aware because you're coaching runners, right? Like runners, how much strength training do runners usually do? Like how much was Ross doing? How much were these guys doing that you've seen?
I know exactly, and you know, you and me have laughed about this, and this is funny because of the timing. Like, you know, Phil Gore, Australia's, or arguably like potentially the world's best, definitely the world's best backyard ultra runner because he's just literally broken the world record. But perhaps the world's best ultra runner, one of them, he does body pump for his strength training.
Yeah, it's
You
wild.
know, like that's not strength training. Like
It's
that's not
wild.
strength training. It's totally. crazy. And people go, why? What do you mean? Why isn't there strength training? Well, it's yes, it gives you. I think where people get tripped up, where a lot of runners get tripped up, is that when they run or when they're climbing hills, they're like, oh, so I'm experiencing this burn in my legs. So that means that when I strength train, I also need to go for the
Mm.
sensation of burning in my legs because it's the most specific thing to the experience that I'm experiencing when I'm running. But that's a huge, huge mistake. So feeling the burn is not the same as developing strength. Strength training is about developing your nervous system, training your nervous system to be able to recruit muscle fibers more efficiently. And that is achieved through heavy lifting, lifting weights that you can lift for 3 to 5 repetitions. Like if you can lift the weight 8 and above repetitions, and perhaps you had like 1 or 2 reps in the tank as well, it's not heavy enough to really stimulate much strength gains at all.
Mm.
And on the flip side, like you don't need to be lifting like 1 or 2 rep maxes either, because like the closer you're lifting to your absolute maximum, the risk of injury becomes a little bit higher. So for a lot of runners, like doing most of your squatting and deadlifting, like the main working sets, if you did them in the 3 to 5 repetition range, that's strength training.
Which is funny because none of them do that at all. Like I'm yet
No.
to meet, I don't know, besides you, I haven't met any elite runners who would prioritize more than 2 to 3, well, even prioritize 2 to 3 times a week of actual pure strength training. And I'm not talking like go in and do 40 reps on lateral raises or something. Like there's not many.
No, there's not. And let's not put me into the elite runners
You
just yet.
man, fuck
I'm on
off.
my
You've won
way.
it. You've won it. Dude, you won an ultra race. Like, regardless of it being king of the hill or not, I'm sorry, man. You gave up that right when you won that race. You're now an elite runner, my friend. You're just extremely new as an elite runner, but you're still an elite runner.
Okay,
You'll allow it.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't get the choice, man. You don't win an ultra. Once you win an ultra, bro, you're an elite runner now. So how I would love to hear your experience from King of the Hill, because obviously we were so focused on running the event and we haven't really spoken about how it unfolded for you, right? But run me through from like you get there. How did it change your opinion on how you were going to go? What was your mindset coming into it? Talk me through.
Yeah, like, we roll up and you could just immediately see like that, okay, that guy, he's gonna be here for a while, just based on like the kind of the level of setup. And then there's people like Rick, who's like did he even have a sleeping bag? Like
No, you just had a chair.
it's just what the
He didn't
hell,
even,
dude?
he only brought like 4 liters of water as well.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first thing that kind of pops up to you. It's like, oh, like, okay, that guy, he looks like he's gonna be here for a while. Like this is interesting because this is the first time I've certainly, ever done anything like this. And we're definitely coming into it with a quite an open mind, but then at the same time, I am a really big believer in like the fact that you have to always like try your best and you have to back yourself. Like if you don't back yourself to do well in something, then like who's gonna back yourself? And then as soon as that first point of resistance comes, you're just gonna get out
Mm.
of there. So, the couple days before, like me and Theresa, like I've never walked out of Coles with a shopping trolley that is completely full to the brim, like a $500 shop. Just I'm like, all right, we're going. We've flown here from Queensland. Like, we're doing this. We're going. We're going all in. So that was kind of my mindset going into it. And yeah, then we set up and the thing starts and you just get into this really interesting kind of rhythm where all of a sudden life becomes very simple. All you have to do is just one more lap. All you got to do is like when that horn rings, the horn of hell, I should say, to signal that it's time to go for a lap. You just roll up and go climb a hill and you know do it again. And I think the one of the things that really stood out for me was like just how amazing of a support crew Teresa was, and she made it very easy for me to just focus on moving forward. And she was like taking really really solid care of the nutrition side of
Man, she
things.
was insanely good. She was eating better than us. We weren't even in the race. Like, I mean, sorry, you were eating better than us and we weren't in the race. Like, it was crazy. You had every time I looked over at her, man, she was doing something. Like, it was very, very impressive. And I think it goes to show you how important that is, because a couple of the people in like top 10, they didn't have that. And it
Yeah,
definitely, I think to do a reasonably good effort at something, you probably don't need every single area locked in, but to actually win something, every percentage counts, right? So
yeah.
she definitely she helped with that percentage for sure.
Absolutely. And as I said, like this kind of an event, like the nutrition side of things, and just like being able to keep eating interesting in terms of like having different types of foods. The foods are actually like so tasty that you can get them down even when you really might don't want to, even though I didn't really have that problem. I was always hungry. If you don't have that, like the end is gonna be very near when you stop eating and you stop consuming calories. You're getting close to pulling the plug. That's for sure.
So the longest challenge you would have done prior to King of the Hill, how many hours would that have been?
We're going back to my military days. That would be like when I was like 19 years old in Finland. We did some like overnight stuff, like longer than 24-hour stuff there. So that was like my
That was 10
uh,
years plus ago, right? From King of the Hill.
Yeah, well, there was longer stuff. Like, sorry, I should that like maybe like continuous full on challenges, but then you'd go to do like a week long training camp when it's like kind of
Mm.
on and off. But you're correct. That was more than 10 years ago. But I just knew that again, like kind of backing yourself. I think you always have these like you've done something in the past. Like, oh yeah, I did that when I was 19. I can
How
pull it.
much sleep debt did you experience when you did the military training? Like, did you have days on end, or was it single?
Yeah, so you sometimes you'd get like 1 or 2 hours over every single night through the entire week, and sometimes even that was pretty broken up. Especially in, I was really lucky. I got a lot of responsibility, and I became a reserve officer, and in the officer school, they really for 100 days it was all about you guys don't have to be here. You can go back anytime and just become like a normal dude. Like
Mm.
and they're literally like kind of trying to push you and break you and try to get you to stop. Would have given them immense satisfaction.
Yeah, that would have played a part for sure. That's definitely applicable training. So, how was it going into your first night? No sleep, King of the Hill.
First night was really interesting because there's this big crowd, right? There's some of the guys are like going really fast during the lap, and then I was kind of hanging like more to the mid slash to the back, and there was this thing called the back crew. So there was these two guys from Townsville, and the other one especially I can't remember his name. Very chatty, super
I
talkative guy.
remember him.
Yeah, and he was like the leader of the back crew, and it was like every lap started, and like during the first 50 to 100 meters before we hit the hill, he would do like inventory, like, "Oh hey man, like you've joined the pack crew, like how you doing?" And it was just so much fun. And then the other thing that during that first night I thought was fucking awesome. So Alex Cleary, right? Huge kudos to that guy. Like there's basically you do the Harris Hill one time, then you go down, and then you do a little bit of a loop, and then you climb it back up again, and then you go through this ridge that's very exposed, and there's like insane wind pretty much through the whole days. The whole 3 days, sorry, there was like this insane wind blown. So Alex is there on top of this ridge in complete darkness with his boombox playing like these insane beats, and he would just like with every single lap he would be like, "Yeah, brother, all day, so good!" Like he would just give you a high five, and that was like that really stood out for me. That was awesome. And then he was there the second night as well. Totally crazy. Yeah, that's those were kind of the main things that I remember from the first night.
When do you feel like, I don't know if you've experienced this, but there's definitely this point at a challenge where you start to, your world starts to narrow and you stop kind of thinking. And it's almost like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You start to go into this point where it's like food, water, survive, food, water, survive. When do you feel like you got to that point?
I think it was during that first night, and I think that was what I meant when I said earlier, like your life becomes very simple, and you just start focusing on these similar things. Sorry, it's like these very simple things. And to be honest with you, like as soon as that day broke on that second day, and the sun comes up, and it like like you're clearly like your circadian rhythm kind of like your body just accepts like, all right, this is the second day. All of a sudden it became, at least for me, like it became much easier, and you just again like get into this like daytime routine. And then again, like on the second night, like as soon as it gets dark, you really start realizing that like between the time when sun goes down and when sun comes up, there are many hours. There's many loops in just this, you know, darkness. And when you're especially like on top of that hill, you're going through like this crazy wind on top of that ridge line, and that was usually like one of the like the definitely the runnable sections. So you're moving pretty well through there, and you can have this wind. It's complete darkness, and no other people around. You couldn't even hear them if they were. Yeah, it's a pretty epic thing to me, to be honest with you. I'm pretty excited to experience that again.
Yeah, I'm excited to see you experience it again. Oh man, is there a specific point that sticks out to you as like a darkest moment?
Yes, definitely. So that was the third night. Definitely like that third night, those last couple hours before the sun came up, those were the darkest times. That was when like I think that Teresa like she played it super strong. Like I was never like kind of quitting, but I was just like, yeah, I started struggling a little bit there, and she would notice from my body language that I was just not feeling that good. But then she just kind of pushed me forward. Like there's a little clip from where I'm like on the waiting bay. I'm like literally jackhammering. I have like my beanie on. I've got like my this the puffer jacket that I had. Then I have like my sleeping bag on. I'm like holding onto the sleeping bag, and I'm like jackhammering. And Teresa's like feeding me because I've got my hands tied. I'm holding onto the sleeping bag as tightly as possible. Those were some pretty rough moments, and it's funny you guys got them on clip. I've seen that a few times.
Yeah, well, this year we'll have every single second on clip, so you'll have every moment captured. I can assure you. The
Oh, I
did
love that.
did you said you didn't have moments where you wanted to quit? Like there wasn't points where you're like, I don't want to do this anymore? Or but I mean, I know you don't want to do this anymore because no one wants to keep doing it. But did you have moments where you were contemplating how you would quit?
Um, they're definitely like um, it was actually like obviously like how the whole thing unfolded in that like we decided to me and Piotr like we shared the win. There was like these moments where I think it was on the second day. Yeah, during the second day, like we started talking like, man, like we've been doing this thing for forever. Like it's pretty rough to kind of go home from here. And you've been doing this thing forever. Like someone's gonna walk away with like $10,000 in their pocket, and then other people are just gonna get like we're just
A
gonna go home.
handshake.
So that's yeah, that exactly. Just gonna get a handshake. That's pretty rough. So definitely like those things started popping in my mind during that third night when it's like a little bit darker and it was like, yeah, it's just like, man, like, how can we bring this? Yeah, you do want it to end at some point.
You'd
I'm not
have
gonna
to. You'd
lie.
have, of
Yeah,
course, yeah. That's
absolutely.
I can only relate from what I've experienced, and I think that I would be wanting to quit from like the first night. Like there's no way that that wouldn't enter my head. So I was so curious on how you navigated that. Did you just try and avoid the thought, or
It was just the. Huh, that's a really interesting question. I think that Teresa played a huge part in it. Like I did say to her like that, okay, like I'm really having a rough time now, and she would just say like, almost like, shut up. Like, we've been here for this long. You're not fucking stopping right now. Like, get out there. Like, she didn't kind of use that language exactly, but it's like, and that's the kind of what I realized in myself is like, man, like you've come all this way. Like you've come so far. How can we how can we stop right now? We have to go all the way till the end. And that's something
yeah,
that I even apply this morning. I did a lactate threshold interval session this morning, and it's like, 90-minute session with 4 8-minute lactate threshold intervals. Yeah, they're pretty, like, it's always like that. You run and then you get the first K clicks, like, 4 minutes roughly, and then okay, we've got 4 more minutes to go. And then somehow I always look at my watch at like 6 minutes, and it's like, okay, 2 more minutes to go. So that's when I'm like, man, you've done 6 minutes. You've been done running for 6 minutes. Are you gonna quit right now? This is where it matters. This is the minute that's gonna change the game for you. Hold on, hold on. So yeah, I apply that
we
a lot.
for sure. Were you purposely playing mind games with anyone? Because we felt that you were, but I've
What do
never
you
actually
mean?
asked you. Well, I have a theory, all right? And if you let me
Okay.
explain it, I'll see if you can agree. Or you might not want to for tactics for next year, but or for this
Yep.
year.
Mm-hmm.
We thought you were not showing any sign of weakness on purpose so that everyone else carried the impression that you were never ever going to quit. And in doing so, wigged themselves out and they decided that it was not worth even trying. So they quit.
That's an interesting theory. So in Finnish, we have this concept called sisu, SISU. It's like there's no real direct translation when it comes to like Finnish to English. Like, what does sisu mean? It's kind of, resilience and, just like going through hard things and pushing through hard stone without emotion, like without showing weakness, without showing that you're suffering. And I think that, growing up in Finland and like having, like going through the military experience and kind of having that, even though I live abroad nowadays, it's like I'm always going to be a Finn at heart. I think that I just have a very strong ability to channel the sisu. So I don't really have to put anything on. I am,
Mm,
that's just me.
definitely. And for anyone who knows you would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
But I
And
wasn't
that's
curious if you dialed it up a little smidge on intentionally.
maybe, obviously, there's, okay, so there are like, there's a level of sisu that's optimal for like any kind of activities. And it can be applied to anything, like, oh man, like I really don't want to go and like do the hedges today or whatever. I don't want to, something you don't want to do. That's where you can apply a little bit of sisu. And then there's king of the hill. So of course, like when I'm rocking up to this thing, and like I said, like I'm backing myself up 100%. So that means that like I'm looking into that sisu. And that's why, yeah, I don't mind, sharing this at all. This is something that, go ahead, try how it works for yourself. But There's no way you'll ever have more sisu than me.
I love it, man. I seen you wear that t-shirt actually, the Sisu t-shirt.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
good. So you've finished third night, you're into the fourth day. Obviously we had the waiting bay stuff and whatever for this year, but I'm curious to know how you evolved the decision to split it with Piotr, because there was four of you. Just to set the scene for anyone listening, right? I think it was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we were we're going into the fourth night, and at this point it was you, Ross, and Piotr. So we lost Dave Gatt already. So we had three over that last night, and then we lost Ross. And it was you two for quite a substantial amount of time. I think it was like over 10 hours. Is that right?
Yeah, I think Ross called it when the sun came up, and I think we finished at like 3 p.m. or something. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So it
quite a
was,
few laps. Yeah.
yeah, 10 to 15 hours, something like that. So it was you two for a really long time. And you guys, when there was four or three of you, you did make a conversation and a couple of little points about like, should we just split it, blah, blah, blah. And we
Mm.
kind of dismissed it because obviously as race organizers, we don't want it to end like that, right? Like it's not really part of it. And otherwise you just say, if there's four people, you can split it.
Yeah.
But you two arrived. How did you arrive at that decision?
I I think that it actually evolved over a couple of laps where clearly, like, coming into this thing, I had no idea who Piotr is. I have no idea that this guy is actually a really good runner and like a really good athlete, which I think in hindsight perhaps was
It's
a
good.
blessing. It was a blessing in disguise. Like, I
Yeah.
just had no idea how much better he is at running. So he probably thought that he was going to win like easy.
Mm.
I'm pretty confident he thought that. And the day starts getting pretty hot. I'm looking at him. What is this guy up to? All he is having is like monsters and gels. And I'm thinking, this guy's been having monsters and gels for 3 days. Like, at some point it's gonna have to catch up with him. And the day it's getting super hot. I'm starting to like kind of at the start line, like some of the footage, my dad actually was watching the live stream and he was like seeing me kind of wobble, and he was like, messaging Teresa like, I'm not saying to tell him to quit, but I don't think this is gonna end well for someone. Like, one of these guys is gonna end up in hospital at some point. So I'm definitely like starting to feel it. And then there was this one lap where we went a little bit slow in the beginning. I can't remember how much. I think the waiting bay got to 25 minutes. So I only had like 35 minutes to complete the lap. And we started off pretty slow for some reason. And then as we're climbing up the hill for the second time, I look at the clock and I'm like, oh shit, like we gotta hurry up here so that we can finish the lap. So then Piotr, I think he also realized that, and it was like we didn't speak to each other. But it was very clear that he tried to drop me. Like he just like tried to make a point. Like, I'm just gonna drop you right now, and see you later. I'm gonna show you how much better runner I am. But I didn't allow him to do that, and I was able to like hold on like right on his heels to finish that lap, and then it was either the next lap or the one after. He asked me like, so, what do you think are your chances of winning this? As the lap started,
Oh, shit.
yeah, he asked me like, pretty bold guy. That's what I like him. The I think Poles and Finns are
Yes.
very
The
similar.
Scandinavians, man. They just say it how it is.
Yeah, Finland's not a part of Scandinavia. We'll talk about that some other time.
Sorry.
That's okay. He asked me, yeah. So, what do you think are your odds of winning this? And I said, I think like 50%. And yeah, I said that, and then what I asked him like, what do you think? What are your odds at winning? And he said like, yeah, I think 50% as well. I think in hindsight, with hindsight is ridiculous, but maybe my theory of like, okay, this guy's you know energy drinks and gels strategy is gonna start failing soon. Maybe that should have been a sign that I should have just, let's see a couple more laps. and see how this goes. But it's saying that I'm super happy it ended the way that it did, and perhaps it wasn't a sign of weakness.
Who suggested it?
Um, he did. He did. So he's like, after I said 50%, after he said 50%, and he's like, should we bring it up? Should we ask Ethan what does he think if we split it and we call it a day? And we're like, yeah, let's do it.
So can I tell you what I saw as well?
Yeah.
Because I don't know if I think, well, obviously that's what happened, but that definitely lines up with what we were thinking, because it looked like, to be honest, you guys were neck and neck. And if I had to put money on anyone, I wasn't writing you off, but I think it would have been like 51-49. Like, there was a part of me that's like, this guy is just, and to be fair, I was doing a lot of Piotr research during the event, and I had a lot of people being like, this guy's got this guy's got this. And then meanwhile, I know a lot about your life. And I'm like, this guy's been running for like 2 years. Like, he's fucking jacked. Like, you can have Sisu, but you can't Sisu your way out of this one. Anyway, but I actually think when the laps started speeding up, he may have realized that it wasn't the same. And I think you scared him because of that drop where he tried to drop you, and it was very evident that he was accelerating, but then you were accelerating, and I think he actually realized, like, fuck, I haven't guaranteed got this anymore, and that definitely would have created some fear, and that's probably why he suggested it, and that it looked like that's what happened, and it's interesting hearing it from your point of view.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was when it did end, and when you were like, okay, like this, yeah, let's do it. And then, like being able to like then shake, like after spending like 76 hours with someone just going, and especially like those last day, like you're just one on one, and then like being able to shake hands and kind of both walk away with a smile on their face, like it was a really nice thing.
It was
So
special, man. It was very special.
yeah.
And also you probably felt pretty bloody relieved knowing that you don't have to keep doing this hill.
Oh man, so relieved. It was insane. And that night, like it was quite nice. So I can't remember what her name was, the lady who actually like owned the land, at least back then.
Yeah. Lynn.
They Lynn, yeah, exactly, that's right. So Lynn then invited me and Teresa to stay with them, and like they got pizza, and it was just the best thing ever. Like sleeping in a real bed, and probably more importantly, not having the hell horn blowing on your ear. Like, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was amazing smelling you after you had a shower versus before as well, because I did it 75 hours. It's a rough for a guy who's not racing. I can assure you, it's that's probably why Piotr gave up, man. Like, you stank.
Oh, that's so funny because Piotr literally at some point he's like, bro, like, I'm not sure if he asked like, bro, haven't you had a shower? But it was like, well, you haven't had a shower either, have you? Like, there's no fucking showers in here, so obviously. But yeah,
Yeah, but did you change clothes? Like, you were wearing the
yeah, I
same
did.
white
Yeah,
night
I did.
outfit. Yeah, but you didn't. How many outfits of those did you have? You were wearing the same
Oh,
clothes the
I
whole time.
I had only one, so one outfit for the day, one outfit for the night. Yeah, the White Knight, the Stormtrooper. Yeah, we'll see
Oh,
if that
that's so good.
Stormtrooper makes a comeback this year.
Well, speaking, sorry, man, I just found that so funny that Piotr actually said it off my joke. So how this year, right? You're doing it again this year. You're obviously all eyes are going to be on you, man. And I'm sure there's going to be a ton of King of the Hill listeners to this that are going to be like writing it down. Yep, okay, Sisu, let's Google that. Um, how are you preparing for this year based off the lessons you've learned?
I the biggest lesson was that, okay, I need to drop weight and I need to become a better runner. So basically, all the way from the King of the Hill until now, I've been working on that. So we're down about like 6-7 kilograms permanently now, which is a pretty good amount of drop. And right now I've got the Cairns Marathon in 2 weeks' time. So we're definitely like have been putting in the work and have improved the flat running ability, because I think that this year it's gonna be really, really important just because of that extra kilometer of flat running, correct?
Mhm.
In the loop. Yeah,
Flat-ish.
kind of ish.
Yeah, you've
Exactly.
seen you've seen the
I've
course.
seen the course. I've seen the paddock. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's gonna be beautiful, guys. Just bring your road running shoes, and it's so runnable. Like it's great. So that one extra runnable kilometer, I think it's gonna, you know, let's say it's over 24 hours, like 24 kilometers of extra running. That's pretty
Mhm.
important. And then being able to cover the course and still have some amount of time for recovery and potentially getting some sleep. You've got to be a little bit better runner this year. So that's what I've been working on until now. And then basically after this Cairns Marathon in 2 weeks' time, that's where we're gonna start prepping the vertical legs again. So that's where I'm gonna start getting pretty intimate with my pyramid over there.
Yeah, you've there were a lot of people that were searching. As runners are an interesting breed, man. When they're interested in something, they dig. Like they dig.
Mm.
And they found all of your Strava entries. They were looking at like the courses that you were running, everything. Like I wouldn't be surprised if you walk into the race this year and everyone knows your dog's middle name, your uncle where he went to school. Like they're gonna have everything seen, which is interesting. But I am curious. Well, for people that aren't trying to win, right? For people that are just going there to have a crack and maybe push themselves, are there some like pointers that you could give? Because coming some pointers from the winner is pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely the strength training. If there's one lesson that you can take from my success last year, it is just how important it is to have strong legs. And this isn't like the type of strength that I mean is like you got to start right now. Like if you put in like really couple months of solid effort into your strength training right now, while we're still like, what is it, like 6 months roughly away
Yeah.
from the event, like it takes a while to build that level of strength that's actually going to be helping you in this event. And then you gradually layer on top more and more of those vertical meters, so you make that sure that like that strength that you're building in the gym is actually carrying over to your ability to climb some pretty decent distance and elevation. That's, I think, one of my main things. And just also, you gotta do the math at some point. Like, okay, like it's 266 meters of vertical over one lap. So if your goal is to do 10 laps, that's 2,600 meters of vertical. So if you've ever only gone for like a run or a hike where you're doing like 100 meters, like or a couple hundred meters of vertical, of course it's going to be such a novel stimulus for your body that you're going to literally start experiencing DOMs at some point. So if whatever your goal is for like how long you expect to be there, there's no real like rule of thumb of like this is exactly how many meters of distance you should be running per week, or this is exactly how many meters you should be climbing per week. But yeah, focusing on that vertical and at least maybe matching what you think you're going to be doing would be a good place to start. In saying that, though, my biggest vertical week leading up to last year, I think it was like 9,000 meters in a
Mm,
week. And, we ended up doing like, what, like 19, something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah. Sometimes when the performance is so ridiculous, unfortunately, it's harder to match it on a weekly. But I do think that your
yeah.
advice of like whatever you plan to hit, hitting that in a week, that's tend to be quite consistent across like a lot of people's challenges. I've noticed, even like through different disciplines. Like I was speaking with Liam, who did the pull-ups, and his goal was 10,000, so he had 10,000 per week, and it seems to be a repeat thing that I'm seeing.
Yeah, definitely. And also just when it comes to ultras in general, that's an advice that a lot of ultra running coaches do give. It's like you don't have to go and do a 100K run to be able to do 100 kilometers, because obviously it's such a big stimulus that then it's going to take you off from proper training, and then you're actually like risk of injury goes up. So if you are planning to do your first 100K ultra and you ever done like 40K, it's like, okay, just do like 1 or 2 100-kilometer weeks in the lead up to your event before then tapering off, allowing yourself to recover properly. That's a really good piece of advice, and I think that it does apply to this quite strongly.
Yeah, nice, man. The last piece of advice would obviously be get a Teresa, because
Get it to reason. And I gotta say, this year I've not only I have Teresa, but I also have a secret weapon that I think that I'm just gonna hold my cards close to my chest. I'm just not gonna reveal that just yet, but I can tell you that I will have a secret weapon that's related to cooking and the
it's a
crew side
it's a
of
6-burner
situation.
barbecue, isn't it? You got a Gordon Ramsay, a chef, coming down to cook you palatable food for 5 days.
Even better. I can just say that the garlic smell is going to be strong in the camp this year. That's all I'm saying.
You know, it's so good. I can't wait to see it. Do you know what? That's going to put people off as well. Can you imagine coming back to your Monster Energies and your gels and then looking over to the guy next to you who's got, beautifully cooked stir fry or like chicken fried rice? Yeah, interesting.
Absolutely.
All right, well, we might wrap there, man. Wow, this was awesome hearing about it. I'm so glad that we had this chat, because it's been a long time since the event and we haven't actually spoken about it in full detail. So I'm very happy I got to hear it all.